There is a specific, heavy kind of silence that begins to settle into the home of a senior dog. It isn't the cold, sterile silence of an empty room, but rather a warm, resonant quiet. The kind that comes after a long, beautiful story reaches its most profound and reflective chapter. When you sit on the floor and look into the eyes of a dog that has walked beside you for a decade or more, you aren't just looking at a pet. You are gazing into a living, breathing library of your own life's history. Those eyes, now perhaps rimmed with white or clouded by the years, have seen you through every version of yourself. They were there when you brought home your first paycheck, nervous and excited. They were there when you mourned your first major heartbreak in the dark of your bedroom, offering a chin on your knee when words were useless. They may have even been there when you brought home a new human life to join the family fold, watching over the crib with a quiet, protective wisdom. They have held your deepest secrets without judgment and stood as the silent, wagging witnesses to every milestone of your personal growth. But as the years pass, the world begins to change for them in ways that are both subtle and heartbreaking. The energetic puppy who once tore through the backyard like a whirlwind, leaving trails of dirt and pure joy, has been replaced by a soul dog who now measures life in inches rather than miles. The frantic zoomies that once defined their evenings have transitioned into a slow, rhythmic shuffle toward their food bowl. The gray muzzle, the stiffening of the joints that makes every morning a physical struggle, and the cloudy vision that turns familiar hallways into daunting obstacle courses. These aren't just signs of age. They are medals of honor, physical proof of a lifetime spent in total, unwavering devotion to you. Today, we are talking about these golden years. We're talking about what it truly means to show up for them when their world gets a little smaller, a little darker, and a little quieter. Caring for a senior dog isn't a burden to be endured or a chore to be checked off a list. It's a sacred privilege. It's our final best chance to say thank you in a language that transcends words and speaks directly to the heart. Aging in dogs doesn't always happen with a bang or a sudden medical crisis. Often, it's a series of whispers, a slow, almost imperceptible accumulation of small changes. In our fast-paced American lives, we are often so caught up in the hustle of our careers and our endless schedules that we might miss those first few whispers. Maybe it's the way they take an extra 5 seconds to find their footing on the rug before standing up to greet you. Maybe it's the way their iconic play bow has become a slow, cautious stretch that lacks its old elasticity. Or perhaps it's the fact that they no longer bark at the mailman with the same frantic ferocity, instead offering just a low, weary woof from the comfort of their bed. It is as if they are acknowledging a familiar ritual they no longer have the strength to perform. We call it slowing down, but for them, it's a profound physical and mental transition that requires a new kind of grace and a deeper level of patience from us. As owners, our first instinct is often a deep, piercing grief. We miss the old them, the hiking partner who could go for hours without tiring, or the jogging companion who never let us quit on a rainy morning. We find ourselves looking at old photos of them as puppies with a heavy heart, mourning the loss of that boundless vitality. But part of truly honoring a senior dog is learning to love and accept the version of them that exists right now, in this very moment. They don't want your pity or your sadness. They simply crave your presence. They need us to stop looking at the clock and start looking at the way their tail still thumps against the floor when we walk into the room. That sound is just as beautiful now as it was 10 years ago. When they wake you up at 3 a.m. with a confused whimper, it's not because they're trying to be difficult or demanding. It's because the world feels a little scarier when your legs are weak and your senses are failing. They aren't asking for much, just a hand on their head and the reassurance that the person they gave their whole life to is still there, standing guard in the dark. Imagine for a moment that your world is losing its sharp edges. Your hearing, once sharp enough to detect a treat bag opening from 3 rooms away, is now muffled and distant, as if you're permanently trapped underwater. Your vision, once capable of spotting a squirrel across a busy street, is becoming a soft, gray blur of shadows and light. This is the daily reality for millions of senior dogs. As their primary senses fail, their natural anxiety rises. In the wild, a dog with failing senses is vulnerable to every threat. Even though they are perfectly safe in your suburban living room, their primal instincts are shouting that they are at risk. This deep-seated fear is why they often become Velcro dogs in their later years. They follow you from the kitchen to the bathroom and then back to the couch, sometimes tripping over your heels in their desperation to stay close. They aren't being annoying, they are seeking safety. You are their North Star. You are the only anchor that keeps them from drifting away into a frightening sea of confusion and sensory loss. Understanding this psychology changes every interaction you have with them. When they stare at a wall for minutes at a time or seem lost in a corner they've walked past for years, they aren't just being weird. Their brain is working overtime to process a world that no longer makes sensory sense. Our job is to be the bridge between their confusion and their comfort. We provide the tactile touch, a firm hand on the shoulder, a long, gentle stroke along the back, that acts as a physical tether to reality. It tells them, without a single word, I am here, you are safe, you are still home. Love, in this stage of life, is a verb. In many American homes, we pride ourselves on our beautiful hardwood floors and our high-profile, stylish beds. But for a dog with hip dysplasia or weakening joints, any are no longer features of a home. They are treacherous obstacles. A polished hardwood floor is like an ice rink to a senior dog, where every step carries the risk of a slip that could lead to a permanent, life-altering injury. One of the greatest acts of love you can perform is ruining your interior design for their comfort. Throw down those cheap yoga mats to create a path of traction. Add those carpet runners in the hallway. These aren't just rugs, they are the safety rails of their final years, giving them the confidence to move through their own home without fear of falling. And then there's the matter of where they sleep. We often think any soft pillow will do, but a senior dog requires true orthopedic support. They need the kind of pressure relief that only high-quality foam can provide for their aching bones and thinning muscles. When we invest in a proper bed, we aren't just buying a piece of furniture. We are buying them a better night's sleep, less morning stiffness, and more mobile afternoons. Similarly, ramps for the car and stairs for the couch aren't luxuries. They are the tools that allow a dog to maintain their dignity and stay included in family life. There is a specific, heartbreaking look of shame an American Bulldog or a German Shepherd gets when they can no longer climb into the SUV or up the stairs to sleep near their family. By providing a ramp, you aren't just helping their body, you are preserving their spirit and their sense of belonging. In the U.S., we have access to incredible veterinary care, yet the senior visit is often fraught with a unique kind of dread for owners. We're afraid of the bad news that might be waiting behind the clinic door. But we must reframe our thinking. Medical care for an aging dog isn't about curing old age. You can't fight time. It's about management and the relentless pursuit of comfort. It's about choosing quality of life over the mere quantity of years. Pain management is perhaps the most critical component of this. Modern veterinary medicine offers a miraculous range of options, from monthly injections that lubricate the joints to specialized diets that support brain function and kidney health. A dog does not have to live in a state of constant pain just because they are old. We also have to be brave enough to talk about the blood work. It's easy to dismiss a dog drinking more water or acting a bit lethargic as just getting old. But often, these are early warning signs of manageable conditions like kidney disease, diabetes, or thyroid issues. When we catch these things early, we don't just add days to their life, we add life to their days. In the exam room, being present isn't enough. We must be their fierce advocate. Because they cannot tell the doctor exactly where it hurts or how their stomach feels after dinner, We have to be the ones who notice the slightest change in the way they chew or the rhythm of their breath. We are their voice in a world they can no longer navigate alone. One of the most difficult things for an American pet parent to witness is canine cognitive dysfunction, often called doggy dementia. As we become more aware of this condition, we realize just how much it impacts the bond we share. You might notice your dog getting stuck behind a door they've opened 1,000 times, or barking at nothing in the middle of a quiet night. This is often part of Sundowners syndrome. As the natural light fades, their internal map of the world begins to crumble and their confusion peaks. This is where your patience will be tested more than ever before. It's 2 a.m., you have a high-stakes presentation at work tomorrow, and your dog is pacing the floor, whining with a hollow sound of distress. It's so easy to feel frustrated in the heat of that moment. But in those quiet hours, you must remember, they are terrified. They are in the house they've lived in for a decade, but suddenly, the shadows look like monsters, and the layout feels like a maze. Managing this requires a rigid, unwavering routine. Dogs, especially seniors, thrive on the safety of predictability. Keep their meal times, walk times, and bedtimes identical every single day. Use nightlights to banish the scary shadows, use calming pheromones, and most importantly, use the power of your voice. Sometimes, just hearing you say their name in a calm, steady tone is enough to break their cycle of fear and bring them back to the safety of your presence. Just because their legs are tired doesn't mean their curiosity is dead. One of the biggest mistakes we make with senior dogs is stopping their mental enrichment because we think they're too old to play. We think, oh, he doesn't want to go to the park anymore because he can't run. Maybe he doesn't want to wrestle with puppies, but he desperately wants to catch the scents of the world. We call this a sniffery. For a dog, sniffing is a complex sensory experience that processes massive amounts of information and releases a flood of feel-good dopamine in the brain. For a senior dog who can no longer run a mile, a slow 15-minute crawl through the grass where they can smell every blade of clover is the mental equivalent of a 5-mile hike. This keeps their brain active, fends off cognitive decline, and prevents the deep depression that can arise when they feel sidelined from life. Try nose work at home by hiding high-value treats around the living room. Use puzzle toys that provide rewards for simple movements. Take them for aimless car rides, letting them stick their heads out the window safely to inhale the thousands of stories carried by the wind. This reminds them that there is still a big, exciting world out there, and that they are still an active participant in it. There is a beautiful, heart-wrenching reciprocity in caring for an old dog. When they were puppies, they were the ones providing the chaotic energy, the constant laughter, and the security of their fierce protection. Now, the roles have completely flipped. In our American culture, we often overvalue youth, speed, and productivity. We love things that are new and efficient. But a senior dog teaches us the opposite truth. They teach us the profound value of the slow lane. They teach us that a life isn't measured by what it can do or how fast it can run, but by the quality of the soul that inhabits the body. When you have to lift an 80-pound Labrador into the back of the car because his hind legs simply won't work anymore, you aren't just doing a household chore. You are performing an act of deep physical intimacy. You are saying, "You carried my heart through every storm for 12 years. Now it's my turn to carry you." There is a sacredness in these quiet moments. The house feels quiet. Distractions disappear. There is only you and this old, beautiful soul, breathing in sync. In these moments, the noise of the modern world, politics, bills, the relentless stress of work, all fades into insignificance. There is only the fundamental truth of two lives that have become so inextricably woven together that you can no longer tell where one ends and the other begins. We cannot talk about the golden years without talking about the inevitable end. It is the heavy price we pay for the greatest, most unselfish love we will ever know. Di Amerika Serikat, Kita beruntung memiliki pilihan kepergian yang damai melalui euthanasia, tetapi mengetahui kapan tepatnya harus menggunakan karunia itu adalah pertanyaan tersulit yang pernah dijawab oleh manusia manapun. We often hear people say, "You'll know when it's time," but the truth is rarely that clear-cut. It's usually a gray area of doubt and guilt. We have to look at the three pillars of their existence. Can they still enjoy their food? Can they still move enough to maintain their dignity? And most importantly, do they still have that recognizable spark in their eyes? One of the most compassionate things you can do is keep a simple good day, bad day calendar. When the bad days start to outnumber the good, we have to be brave enough to ask the hardest question. Are we keeping them here for their benefit, or are we keeping them here because we are too afraid to say goodbye? The final act of love isn't holding on with white knuckles. It's letting go with a gentle hand. It is taking their physical pain and transforming it into our own emotional grief so that they don't have to carry the burden anymore. It is the hardest kindness. If you can, do it at home, in their favorite sunspot, with their head on your lap. Let the last thing they smell be you, and the last thing they hear be your voice whispering that they were the best boy or the best girl that ever lived. Because they were. They absolutely were. When a senior dog finally leaves us, they leave a hole in the house that no other dog, no matter how wonderful, can ever quite fill. But they also leave a lasting legacy. They leave us better, kinder, and more patient than they found us. They taught us how to slow down. They taught us how to find immense joy in a simple sunbeam on the kitchen floor. They taught us that loyalty isn't just a word found in a dictionary. It's a decade-long commitment of showing up every single day, no matter how tired or grumpy we were. So, if you have a senior dog at home right now, I am asking you to look at them. Really look at them. Don't see the old dog or the medical bills or the slow walks. See the hero who has been by your side through every storm of your life. Give them that extra treat they love today. Let them sleep on the big bed, just this once, or every night. Take that extra 5 minutes to scratch that exact spot behind their ears that they can't reach anymore. Because our time with them is tragically short, but the impact they have on our hearts is eternal. They may only be a part of our lives for a season, but to them, we were their entire world, and what a beautiful, shared world it was, in memory of every gray muzzle that taught us the true meaning of love. Thank you for staying with them until the very end.